Welcome to the NAIFA webinar series. This is Brendan Burnett, Director, Professional Development and Education Programs, and this month we are presenting Don't Worry, Retire Happy, 7 Steps to Retirement Security. With me today is Tom Hegna. He is the president of TomHegna.com and the author of the book Paychecks and Playchecks. He is a former first vice president of New York Life, and before that, Tom was commissioned in the U.S. Army and spent 6 years on active duty, another 16 years in the U.S. Army Reserve, and retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2006 before beginning his insurance career. He is a popular industry speaker, and he has been featured in articles in the American College Wealth Channel magazine, Round the Table from MDRT, National Underwriter, Business, Forbes, Money Rates, and NAIFA's Advisor Today magazine. Beginning in 2014, Tom was the host of a PBS special of the same title, Don't Worry, Retire Happy. And we are thrilled to have Tom with us today, presenting to NAIFA members. Today's presentation, Tom will bring his insights from the PBS program to you with a focus on your role as insurance and financial advisors. Retirees face market volatility, increasing life expectancy, and increasing medical costs, and plenty of challenges with Social Security. Being prepared and creating an optimal plan for your clients is essential in today's fluctuating retirement landscape. Whether we see inflation, deflation, market success, or even market crash, if you and your clients are able to follow Tom's 7 steps, you will all be well on your way to a happy retirement. During the presentation and question and answer session, you may type your questions in the question box on the right side of your screen. Questions will be answered during the Q&A at the end of the program, and this webinar is being recorded. So let's begin. Tom, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, Brendan, thank you. It's great to be with you all. Hey, look, I'm going to be speaking for, just under an hour, and then we'll have Q&A. And I would just encourage you to try not to multitask. I know that's hard. We all want to do it, but I'm going to be focused on this for about an hour. And if you focus on this, I promise you'll get a lot out of it. I would even encourage you to take some notes. And if you stick around to the end, I've got a special treat for you as well. So let's get into the presentation. As Brendan said, I've written 4 books on retirement. My first book is a book by the name of Paychecks and Playchecks, and I will tell you I'm a reluctant author. I never wanted to write a book, didn't dream of writing a book. It wasn't on my bucket list, so why to write a book? Well, here's why. Because right now, if your clients were to work with 50 different financial advisors and ask them this simple question, how should I retire? You know what they're going to get? They're going to get 50 different opinions of what they ought to do. Well, isn't that interesting? See, retirement's been studied in depth by PhDs all over the world. People like Dr. David Babel of Wharton, Dr. Moshe Milevsky of Toronto, Dr. Menachem Yari of Israel, most recently, Dr. Robert C. Merton, a Nobel Prize winner who's published in the Harvard Business Review. Well, guess what? I've read their research. And you know what the research says? There are not 50 optimal ways to retire. There's really one optimal way to retire, and that's not my opinion. It's based on mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. So what I'm not going to do today is stand up here and give you a bunch of my opinions. What I am going to do is lay out the math and science behind a successful retirement. I want to show each one of you how you should retire. Then you can take this information out to your clients and share with them how they should retire. Now, if I had to summarize Paychecks and Playchecks, I'd summarize it this way. What day of the week do you spend the most money? What day of the week you go golfing, you go to Home Depot, get your nails done, get your hair done? What day of the week could that be? Well, for most people, it's Saturday. Well, guess what? The day you retire, every day is Saturday. See, you're not just going to need paychecks. I would argue you're going to need some playchecks so you can actually enjoy your retirement. See, I'm going to talk a lot today about why people are not enjoying their retirements and what you can do differently to make sure you enjoy yours and that your clients enjoy theirs. Now, I gave the Paychecks and Playchecks talk down in San Diego about 4 years ago at a big industry meeting, and there was someone there from PBS, public television, and they said, we need to take this message out to the American people because they're getting the wrong message from these other talking heads. But we're not sure that Americans would really understand this paycheck and playcheck thing. We would need a simpler title. So you know what? I wrote another book. It's called Don't Worry, Retire Happy. All right? And this book is based on math and science. This show is now played in over 72 million homes in the U.S. and Canada. I hope you saw it. If you didn't, it's okay. You're going to get it live right now. So here are the 7 simple steps I've shared with the American people on how to retire happy and successful based on math and science, not based on some stockbroker's opinion. Step number 1, you got to have a plan. How can you get anywhere if you don't have a roadmap or a plan of how to get there? And with this, I say you've got to work with a financial professional. Retirement is not a do-it-yourself project. Look, I do a lot of public seminars. In my public seminars, I say, look, I'm willing to bet you don't do your own dental work in your garage with your drill set, and I don't think you ought to be doing your own retirement planning either. Step number 2, I want you to understand and maximize your Social Security benefits. Do you realize for most of your clients, Social Security is the largest retirement asset they have, and yet they spend more time planning their summer vacation than learning how to maximize those valuable benefits. Step number 3, we need to encourage our clients to consider a hybrid retirement. Too many people are trying to retire too early. They haven't saved enough money. And if we can get our clients to work just a couple extra years, even part-time, we can increase their success in retirement significantly. Step number 4, they've got to have a plan to protect themselves against inflation. Inflation is like a virus. It gets worse over time. I'll share with you some ideas around that. Step number 5 is a big one. I'm going to camp out there for a while. You need to secure more guaranteed lifetime income. So you're going to hear me say this a lot today, but the success of your retirement is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. The success of your retirement and your client's retirement is going to have everything to do with income. And I think I'll prove to every man, woman, and child on this call, guaranteed lifetime income. Step number 6 is another big one. You must have a plan for long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. My guess is, among the people on this call, this is the number 1 thing that has not been taken care of that can wipe out your entire life's work. We're going to talk about it. Step number 7, use your home equity wisely. For many of you, your house is one of the largest assets you have. I'll share with you some ideas around that. And then I'm going to wrap up with the most efficient way for you to pass wealth to your children, grandchildren, and charities. You're going to hear me say this. Don't leave your kids any money. Don't leave your kids any money. I want you to spend your money. I want you to leave them life insurance because you can do that for pennies on the dollar. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's get going. Step number 1, you got to have a plan. The Hartford puts it this way. Those who plan for retirement are 3 times more likely to be confident they will have sufficient income retirement as compared to those who have not planned. And here's why. The diagram on the left is the way your parents retired. The diagram on the right is the way you're going to retire. Very, very different pictures. If you think about it, most of your parents or grandparents worked for the same company for 30 or 40 years. When they retired, the company held a retirement party, presented them with a shiny gold watch, and a guaranteed paycheck every single month for the rest of their lives in the form of a pension. They got a very generous Social Security program where they got far more money out than what they ever put in. And if you think about it, most of your parents and grandparents didn't save up a lot of money. You know why? Because they didn't have to. They never talked about the retirement that they saved $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000. They always communicated their retirement in terms of income. We get $2,000 a month. We get $3,000 a month. Do you understand? Retirement has always been communicated in terms of income, not assets. But now compare that to your retirement. Many of you will get little or no pension. You will get Social Security. I'm clear in all of my books. Everyone on this call, yes, millennials, you too, will get Social Security. I could literally fix Social Security in less than 15 minutes for the next 100 years. Social Security will be a relatively easy fix. Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare, not an easy fix. And if you've noticed that the increases in Social Security really haven't been happening, not because there's a problem with Social Security, but because Medicare premiums are exploding and taking away some of those increases. So you may not get as much Social Security as you're expecting, but not because there's a problem with Social Security, because there's a problem with healthcare in this country, okay? So your retirement's really going to depend on how much money you're able to save. But here's the deal. I think people know how to save money. They know how to invest. They know how to diversify. But what Americans are not very good at is turning their assets into income. See, you don't get to retire on assets. What you get to retire on is income. And Americans are not very good at turning assets into income, and I know I'm going to help you with that. Now, one other thing. A lot of people think this is a knowledge business. I got news for you. This is not a knowledge business anymore. You give me an iPad, the internet, 15 minutes, I can figure out anything I need to figure out. This is now a words business. This is a language business. This is a questions business, and this is a stories business. You want to increase your production? Work on your words, work on your language, work on your questions, and work on your stories. And what I hope you find is that the rest of my presentation is rich in powerful words, language, questions, and stories. Now, a couple questions you need to help your clients with right out the gate. Question number one, what do I need my retirement income to do? And then I would argue just as important, maybe more important, what do I want my retirement income to do? Now, what we need our retirement income to do for all of us is really the same. It needs to cover our basic living expenses, our food, our housing, our clothing, our cell phone, our internet. I call that the paycheck. And what math and science demands is that paycheck should be covered with guaranteed lifetime income. So that is not where stocks fit. That is not where bonds fit. That is not where real estate fits. That is not where mutual funds fit. That's where guaranteed lifetime income fits to cover basic living expenses in retirement. But then what do I want my retirement income to do? That's the play check, that's the travel, that's the cruises, that's the fun stuff, and all those other products fit fine right there. But you know what? If the truth were told, many of your clients are not fully enjoying their retirement. And you've all got clients like this. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, they got plenty of money. Many of them don't even touch it. You know, when I was an advisor, I used to bust my clients. I'd say, wait a minute, now you told me when you retire you're going to join the country club, you're going to buy a new boat, you're going to go on a cruise, and you're going to see the world. Have you done that yet? You know, many of your clients say, no, we haven't done that yet. You know why? Because just in case interest rates are so low, just in case GE just cut their dividends, the market's been so volatile, Bitcoin has crashed. They're living what I call a just-in-case retirement. And here's what it looks like. They don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money. Then they die. What happens to money? It goes to kids. What do kids do with it? They join the country club, they buy a new boat, they go on a cruise, and they see the world. Look, don't laugh. This is happening all over the country. And what I want to make clear today is this. I want you and your clients to join the country club. I want you and your clients to see the world. I do not want you and your clients to live a just-in-case retirement. And in step number 5, I'm going to show you exactly how you can avoid living that just-in-case retirement. Step number 2, understand and maximize your Social Security benefits. If I had asked you, what is the largest retirement asset most of your clients have? You think it's their pension? Is it their 401k? Is it their house? Or is it their Social Security benefit? For the vast majority of your clients, it's their Social Security benefit. Do you realize if you're single, your Social Security benefit can pay over $500,000. If you're married, it can pay you well over $1 million. Yet people spend more time planning that summer vacation than learning how to maximize those valuable benefits. Now, look, I know many of you are experts in Social Security maximization, so I'm not going to try to train you on Social Security maximization. What I want to do is demonstrate to you the words and language that I use when I'm in front of clients to show them how they can maximize their benefit. See, right now, the full retirement age for Social Security is age 66. And for every $1,000 a month you get at age 66, if you take that benefit early at 62, you're not going to get $1,000 a month. You're only going to get $750 a month. But if I can get you to wait just a few more years to age 70, you're also not going to get $1,000 a month. You're going to get $1,320 a month. So let me pull those two up. 750, 1320. 750, 1320. 750, 1320, and I didn't put cost of living in there. If you put normal Social Security cost of living, what I'm telling you is your paycheck at age 70 will be about double what it is at age 62. And yet, what age do you think many of your clients are taking their Social Security benefits? 62. Now, here's something many of you don't know about me. I love Waffle House restaurants, okay? I will literally drive out of my way to eat at a Waffle House. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Waffle House at 6 a.m. If you've never been, you got to go. Something special happens. The wise men appear, and they sit around the counter drinking coffee, solving the world's problems. And if you don't have a local Waffle House, I promise you there's a local coffee shop. You go in there at 6 a.m., it will be loaded with wise men. And if you walk into the coffee shop and ask the wise men, hey, what age should I draw my Social Security benefit? You know they'll tell you? 62. I've been reading the papers. This place is going broke. Get the getting while the getting's good. 62, 62, 62. That's the Waffle House answer. That's the coffee shop answer. Is that the right answer? That is not the right answer. So what is the right answer? Here is the right answer. In general, the breadwinner should delay. I'll say it again. In general, the breadwinner should delay till age 70. Now, why do I say in general? Because everybody's different. You got to look at health status, medical conditions. Sometimes there's minor children in the home. You have to take your benefits to start those benefits. Some people take it early. They invest it. They say they can do better. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is everybody taking it at 62 because their buddy at the coffee shop told them to take it at age 62. So here's what I'm saying. Let's say we got a husband and wife. Let's say in this case the husband made more money and paid more into Social Security during his career than the wife. Well, the wife can take her benefit early. I got no problem. So the lower earning spouse, whoever it is, in this case it's a wife, can claim early at 62. I got no problem with that. But the higher earning spouse, whoever it is, in this case the husband, should wait till 70. Why? Because that check covers both lives. See, when he dies, which check does she get? She gets his. If he took his early, he locked her into a lower survivor benefit. Because the breadwinner's check covers both lives, in general, the breadwinner should delay. Now, it doesn't matter how many times I say that. You know what some people on some call will tell me? Tom, you don't understand. I've been paying and paying and paying and paying. By golly, I want to do some giving. Look, I'm not telling you your clients can't retire at 62. I'm saying they shouldn't take their Social Security benefit at age 62. So if you've got a client who wants to retire at age 62, here's my best professional advice for words and language to use. Use these words. Say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, let me build you a bridge. I'll build you an income bridge from 62 to 70. We're going to use some other money, use some IRA money, use some 401k money, use some CD money, use some money market money. Use some other money from 62 to 70. I just wouldn't take that 70 Social Security money early. My whole point in this is before you let clients make the most important retirement decision of their lifetimes, which I believe is their Social Security start date, run a Social Security calculator. Show them their benefit if they take it early. Show them if they delay. Show what happens if they live a long life or a short life. I'm just asking they make an educated decision on the most important retirement decision in their life. And if you don't have a Social Security calculator, you will find one for free on my website, okay? Step number 3, consider a hybrid retirement. I think George Burns put it best. He said, retirement at 65 is ridiculous. When I was 65, I still had pimples. And by the way, George Burns lives to be age 100. Look, if we could get our clients to work just a couple extra years, even part-time, we can increase their success in retirement significantly. You know why? Because they can have increased earnings, increased savings, increased Social Security benefits, and we can happen into that portfolio. If they're already retired, I want you to know math and science supports them getting a part-time job if they want to. Any extra revenue they can bring into their retirement equation can increase their success in retirement. Step number 4, they've got to have a plan to protect themselves against inflation. As I said, inflation is like a virus that gets worse over time. This shows $10,000 of purchasing power. At 4% inflation, it'll be cut by more than 50% in 20 years. It'll be cut by more than 2/3 in 30 years. So think about this. Not only do you need to give your clients income to age 100 and beyond, what I'm telling you is you need to give them increasing income to age 100 and beyond. So look, this is where stocks fit. This is where mutual funds fit. This is where managed money fits. This is where real estate fits. You can build a portfolio that if we get inflation, the portfolio goes up and they have more money to increase their income in the future. But I want you to also know you can protect yourself against inflation without using any risk products. You need to know that I've already bought guaranteed lifetime income that will kick in when I turn age 60. But I bought even more that kicks in when I turn age 65. I bought even more that kicks in when I turn age 70. I bought even more that kicks in when I turn age 75. I got 11 of them. And I'll probably have 30 of them before I shut this thing down because I've kind of figured something out about retirement. Retirement is not about the stock market. It is not about real estate. And it is not about Bitcoin. A successful retirement has 2 components. Component number 1 is increasing income for the rest of your life, and component number 2 is risk management, taking key retirement risks off the table. And I'm now going to talk about both of those. And that leads us right into step number 5. You've got to secure more guaranteed lifetime income. Time Magazine puts it this way: securing at least a base level of lifetime income should be every retiree's priority, at least if they want to live happily ever after. And I will tell you that lines up exactly with what the PhDs who study retirement say, that as a minimum, you need to cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. Now, there are 3 sources of guaranteed lifetime income. The first source is Social Security. Well, heck, we already talked about Social Security, but let me ask you a question. What is Social Security? Social Security is a lifetime income annuity. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. The second source is a pension, but let me ask you a question. What is a pension? A pension is a lifetime income annuity. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. And what the PhDs who study retirement say is, as a minimum, you need to cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. So Social Security counts and pension counts. But whatever you're short, You know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to go find an insurance company and buy a lifetime income annuity. Now, look, I speak all over the world. I just got back recently from China and Singapore and Thailand. Yeah, they're worried about retirement over there, too. It is not at all unusual when I'm doing a public seminar that somebody might raise their hand in the back of the room and say something like this: Tom, we don't like annuities around here. Susie Orman doesn't like annuities. Dave Ramsey doesn't like annuities. Ken Fisher takes out full-page ads. I hate annuities, and so should you. We don't like annuities around here. Have you ever had a client or prospect say that to you? The next time that happens, I'd encourage you to do what I do. I just act surprised. I go, seriously? Seriously? You're telling me you don't like annuities? Okay, so let me understand what you just said. You paid into Social Security for 35 years, but you're telling me you're going to call up the Social Security Administration, say, stop those checks. No more Social Security checks in this house. We don't like annuities. Are you seriously going to do that? You worked for that company for 42 years, but you're telling me you're going to call up the HR department and say, stop those pension checks. I don't want to find another one of those nasty things in my mailbox. We don't like annuities in this house. Well, typically they'll say something like this: well, I guess we like those kind of annuities. It's just those insurance company annuities we don't like. That's it. I say, really? And why is that? Well, because they're all loaded with fees and everything. Really? Does anybody know what the total ongoing fees in a lifetime income annuity even are? I'm talking SPIA and DIA right at this moment. What are the ongoing fees in a SPIA or a DIA? Zero. It's not even a fee product. It's called a spread product. If you're guaranteed $1,000 a month for the rest of your life, guess how much you'll hit your bank account every month for the rest? $1,000 a month. And then I've had people say, Tom, that's not exactly true. I read the policy. There's a one-time $300 policy fee. That's already in $1,000 a month. There are zero ongoing fees in a lifetime income annuity. Now, there are annuities that do have fees. Variable annuities have fees. Some income riders on index products have fees. That doesn't mean they're bad. It means you have to weigh out what is the fee versus what is the guarantee. Now, if you want some language that I would use for fees, if somebody brings up the fee argument to you, what I would say is I say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I guess if I could retire on low fees, I guess low fees would matter, but you know what? I don't get to retire on low fees. You know what I get to retire on? Where can I make the most, lose the least after fees? That's called risk-adjusted net return. I'm way more interested in the highest risk-adjusted net return than what the lowest fees are. And I'll give you an analogy. It'd be like if you were going to go buy a car and you read a report that said the only car you should ever buy is a white Toyota Prius because it gets 75 miles to the gallon. And if somebody tries to sell you a BMW or a Mercedes or leather seats or color paint or a Bose audio sound system, they are obviously trying to rip you off. I mean, that would be ridiculous. You don't just buy a car based on gas mileage, and you shouldn't just buy an investment based on fees. Fees are a factor, just like gas mileage is a factor. But what about performance? What about the guarantees? What about which investment is the best value? So those are some of the words I would use. Look, everybody thinks retirement's so complicated. Do you know the more I study retirement, the simpler and simpler and simpler it gets? In fact, let me try to make each of your retirements as simple as I can. The ultimate success of each one of your retirements is going to depend on your answers to my next two questions. And I'm not going to ask you how big your 401k is or if you have a fancy house. You know why? Because the success of your retirement is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. Now think about this. This is a paradigm shift. You know what you've been taught your whole life? The same thing I was taught, the same thing your clients are taught, that we're going to retire in this pile of money. And the bigger our piles of money, the better our retirements will be. That's what we're all told. I'm telling you, that's not exactly true. Your assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be sued. They can be divorced. They can be decimated in a market crash or wiped out by long-term care. In fact, for most people, their assets are simply numbers on a piece of paper. Think about it. Your 401k, that's numbers on a piece of paper. Your bank account, that's numbers on a piece of paper. Your brokerage account, that's numbers on a piece of paper. And did you know for the rest of your life, there's only two things, only two you will ever do with those numbers on that piece of paper. You are either going to spend that money or you're going to give that money. Think about it. That's all you're ever going to do. You're either going to spend it or you're going to give it. You're either going to give it when you're alive or more likely you're going to give it when you die. Because I got news for you. You don't get to take any of it with you. It's all going to stay down here. So when you really study the math and science behind the success of retirement, it really comes down to your answers of these two questions. Question number one, how much guaranteed lifetime income do you have? And question number two, have you taken the key retirement risks off the table? See, your answers to those two questions will determine the ultimate success of each one of your retirements. Now, look, there's a lot of risk in retirement. There's market risk. We've seen that. There's withdrawal rate risk. If you take out too much money, you can run out. There's this thing at the bottom left called sequence of returns risk. I am telling you, your clients do not understand sequence of returns risk. Sequence of returns risk is why the stock market has averaged over 12% a year since 1924. But if you're retired and you have money in the stock market, you can't take out 12% a year. You can't take out 10% a year. You can't take out 8% a year. You can't take out 6% a year. You can't even take out 4% a year. What does Morningstar say the safe withdrawal rate in retirement is? 2.8% per year. Oh, Tom, come on. That doesn't even make sense. If the market has averaged over 12% a year since 1924, certainly I can take out more than 2.8. No, you can't. And here's why. Because the day you retire, all the rules change. See, average returns mean nothing in retirement. Once you retire and you start taking money out of a portfolio, there is only one thing that matters, and that's called the order or sequence of returns. Look, in Paychecks and Playchecks, I give an example of a guy who retired in 1973. He averaged 10.1% a year for the next 22 years. So think about that. He averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. His broker told him he could take out 5% per year. Now, you would think if you average 10% a year, 10.1% a year for 22 years, you could certainly take out 5% a year, right? Wrong. Dead broke. Completely ran out of money. People say, how can that be? How could you average 10 and then run out if you're only taking out 5? Here's how it happens. Because the first 3 years of his retirement, the market went down, down, down. 3 years in a row. Look, if it's your turn to retire, I don't care if Warren Buffett himself is your money manager. If you're taking money out of that portfolio and that market goes down 3 years in a row, you too will likely run out of money. It's called sequence of returns risk. I'm telling you, Americans don't understand it. We might have inflation. We might have deflation. You might need long-term care. You might die. There's a lot of risks in retirement. But there's only one number one risk. Take a look at that list. Which of those risks is hands down? Nothing is even close. The number one risk in retirement is longevity risk. Why? Because longevity is not just a risk, it's a risk multiplier of all those other risks. Do you understand? The longer you live, the more likely inflation will decimate your purchasing power. The longer you live, the more likely you'll take out too much money. The longer you live, the more likely you're going to need long-term care. Look, let me try to make this point as simple as I can. If you retire when you're 65 and you drop dead when you're 68, it doesn't matter if the market crashes 10,000 points. It doesn't matter if inflation is 15%. It doesn't matter if you were drawing 12% a year. It doesn't matter if you forgot to buy long-term care insurance. You didn't live long enough. But if you live to be 75, 80, 85, 90, it's all those other risks that will wipe you out. So with all the research I can find from the smartest PhDs in the world who study retirement says this: to retire optimally, you must take longevity risk off the table. In fact, if you get nothing else out of my first 30 minutes, would you get that? You must take longevity risk off the table. Hey, what did Hegna talk about in that webinar that one day? He said you must take longevity risk off the table. Well, guess what? Stocks can't do that. Bonds can't do that. Real estate can't do that. Bitcoin cannot do it. Okay, well, what can do it? It's a pretty short list. A lifetime income annuity, you might call it a SPIA, can do it. A deferred income annuity, you might call it a DIA, can do it. Or an income or withdrawal benefit rider from a fixed, index, or variable annuity can do it. That is it. What do all those products have in common? One word: annuity. What all the research I can find from the smartest PhDs in the world who study retirement says this: to retire optimally, you must put an annuity into that portfolio. Why? Because only an annuity can take longevity risk off the table. Why? Because only a life insurance company can issue an annuity. Why? Because only a life insurance company sells life insurance to be on the other side of that risk. Look, let me ask you a very simple question. What is the risk to your insurance company when you sell a life insurance policy? What's the risk to the company? That the person dies, and they die real soon. You sell $1 million term policy, you probably turn in a check for $25. Bam, the next day that guy gets hit by a bus. That company's out $1 million. The guy died too soon. What's the risk to your company if you sell some guaranteed lifetime income? That somebody lives too long. She's 115 and she won't quit breathing, and every month she's breathing, those checks got to go. Do you understand? Because the insurance companies on both sides of the mortality and longevity risk scale, they're the only ones that can protect your clients from dying too soon or living too long. Let me try it one more time. 4 years ago, I spoke in Singapore for the $1 Million Roundtable, and the day before I spoke, I got interviewed by Asia Insurance Review. And they said, Tom, we've reviewed your material, and we're very concerned about U.S. life insurance companies that are selling these guaranteed paychecks for life. I said, really? They said, yes. See, we believe medical technology is developing so rapidly that soon people are going to live to be 100, 110, 120, maybe even 130 years of age. And if these companies are guaranteeing paychecks for life, they're all going to go broke. And I just smiled and I said, well, you got it half right. You're right. They will be paying a lot of lifetime income. But guess what? They won't be paying any death claims on all those life insurance policies they wrote. Do you understand? Because in insurance companies on both sides of the mortality and longevity risk scale, they are the only ones that can protect your clients from dying too soon or living too long. This is another mathematical, scientific, and economic fact. It's a key concept that you have to learn to understand, that you have to understand to retire optimally. Look, when you buy a lifetime income annuity, it is a personal pension-like stream of guaranteed income, a guaranteed paycheck, but I would argue more importantly, a guaranteed playcheck. Do you understand why so many of your clients are not enjoying their retirements? Because they got assets and interest rates are at 50-year lows. Now they're losing money in oil. They're losing money in gas. They're losing money in GE. They're losing money in Bitcoin. These people are miserable. Assets make people miserable in retirement. What allows you to enjoy your retirement are these guaranteed paychecks and playchecks. Because when these checks come rolling in, guess what? You better spend the money. Because you know what happens next month? The checks come rolling in. And you better spend the money because guess what happens next month? The checks come rolling in. And you better spend the money because guess what happens next month? The checks come rolling in. And it's the unlimited checks and spending that actually allow you to enjoy your retirement. Look, if you've got clients who are retired on assets, I got some pretty bad news. They will never, ever, ever be able to fully enjoy their retirements. Do you know why? Because number one, they don't know how long they're going to live. Number two, they don't know what rate of return they're going to get. So number three, they don't know how much they can take out every month. So I promise you they will do one of two things. They will either take out too much money, in which case they will quickly run out of money, or far more likely, they'll never take out enough. And they'll join the millions of Americans living that just in case retirement. See, what gets you out of a just-in-case retirement is guaranteed lifetime income. Now, I've been talking about math and science and economics. Let me talk to you for a minute about psychonomics. Think of it this way. For your entire life, you got something from your company about every 2 weeks. You know what that was called? That was called a paycheck. And you know what you did with almost all your paycheck? Yes, you saved a little, but you know what you did with almost all your paycheck? You spent it. You paid for your car. You paid for your house. You went on nice trips. You spent your paycheck your entire life, and you had no problem doing that. When was the last time you raided your 401k? When was the last time you went and took a bunch of money out of your brokerage? We can't do that. We got to save it. We got to grow it. We can't touch it. We got to save it. We got to grow it. We can't touch it. Okay, so you do that for 40 years, and you think you're going to wake up on your 65th birthday and say, by golly, I'm going to blow my 401k today. You can't do it. People can't spend assets. It's not just economics. It's psychonomics. Look, and you don't have to give up anything. Look at those guaranteed payout rates. Your broker can't give you rates like that. Your banker can't give you rates like that. But a life insurance company can because they're on both sides of the risk. Now look, I've given this presentation thousands of times all over the world, and I know people have doubts here, but see, every check you get from an insurance company is composed of three parts. Part number one is principal. Anybody can give you principal. Part number two is interest. Anybody can give you interest. But part number three is the secret sauce that you can't get from stocks, you can't get from bonds, you can't get from Bitcoin, that in paychecks and playchecks I call mortality credits, and in don't worry, retire happy I call longevity credits. It's the same thing. It's extra money from the risk pool the older you are and the longer you live. And what math and science says, and what I will prove to you in less than 5 minutes, is that if any of you right now have a portfolio, and you do not have any of these longevity credits in your portfolio, math and science will prove that your portfolio is suboptimal, less than what it could or what it should be. So now I get people say, Tom, what the heck are these longevity credits? Okay, I got a simple story for you. Every year, there were 5 9-year-old ladies who went on vacation. One year, one lady said, hey, let's each put $100 in this mason jar. We'll seal up the jar, and then next year when we go on vacation, we'll bring the jar with us, and those of us who are still alive, we'll open the jar and we'll split the money. They said, Helen, that is a great idea. So you got 5 9-year-old ladies, they each put $100 in the jar, there's $500. They sealed up the jar. What do you think happened the next year? She forgot where they put the jar. No, I just made that one up. No, unfortunately, one lady died that year. So now 4 ladies split the $500. They each get $125. That was a 25% rate of return in 12 months. I got 2 questions for you. How much of that money was invested in the stock market? 0. What interest rate did it earn in that jar? 0. How did they get paid 25% with no money in the market, no interest rate? It's because they got paid longevity credit. So ladies look at this, they look at a brokerage firm, they said, hey, this is a pretty good deal. I'm going to put it back in the jar, seal it back up, and do it again. So they decided to let her ride. The next year, 1 more lady died. Now 3 ladies split the $500. They each get $167. That was a 67% return in 2 years. No money in the market, no interest rate. Why? Because they got paid longevity credit. Now, I know some of you are thinking, you're saying, yeah, but Tom, my clients don't want their money to disappear when they die. They got kids, they got grandkids. Hey, if you buy a lifetime income annuity, you got to buy one where the money disappears when you die? No, the check could continue to your spouse for the rest of her life, or it could continue to your daughter for the rest of her life, or it could continue to your grandson for the rest of his life. These things can pay for 100 years. All lifetime income annuities pay longevity credits. The older you are, the longer you live, the fewer guarantees, the more of these credits you get paid. Let me show it you graphically. Every check you get from an insurance company is composed of 3 parts. Part number 1 is principal. That's the orange box. Anybody can give you that. Part number 2 is interest. That's the gray box. Anybody can give you that. But only a life insurance company manufactures longevity credits. Only a life insurance company can guarantee you will never, ever, ever run out of money. Your banker can't guarantee you'll never run out of money. Your broker can't guarantee you'll never run out of money, but a life insurance company can because they're on both sides of the risk. Now, as I said, I've done this thousands of times all over the world. So I know for a fact when we have this many people on the call, we still have a doubter or two. You still don't believe me. So guess what? I'm going to give you a chance to prove me wrong, and you can be a hero amongst your peers. It's a very simple challenge. Here's all you got to do. And you can work with your favorite stockbroker to do it. So either you or your broker put together the portfolio you think I cannot beat. Oh, he'll never beat this one. This one's got all the good stocks in it. Yeah, you put together that portfolio. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach into your portfolio. I'm going to pull up some of the bonds. I'm going to replace them with some guaranteed lifetime income. You know what that'll do to every single one of your portfolios? It'll lower the risk and increase the returns. If you don't believe me, prove me wrong. But here's why you can't. Inside of a portfolio, the way that guaranteed lifetime income functions, it functions like a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with 0 standard deviation. So let's go back to my challenge. You build me the portfolio you think I cannot beat. I'm going to pull out some of the bonds. I'm going to replace them with a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with 0 standard deviation. What will that do to every single one of your portfolios? It'll lower the risk and increase the returns. Tommy's not making this stuff up. These are mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. Now look, math and science is very important to me. I travel the world teaching people how to retire. It better be right. I mean, think about it. I'm on PBS in 72 million homes. Golly, I sure hope it's correct. But you want to know what? For your clients, there's something way more important than math and science. I call it the happy factor. So let me ask you a question. When you retire, do you want to be happy or unhappy? Well, most people say happy. Well, guess what? The Wall Street Journal discovered the secret to a happy retirement. Take a look at this. The secret to a happy retirement is friends, neighbors, and a fixed annuity. See, the Wall Street Journal studied who are the happiest people in retirement. You know what they found? People surrounded by their friends, surrounded by their families, who had guaranteed paychecks every single month. Hey, let me ask you a question. Who are your happiest clients in retirement? I bet it's your retired military, retired government, retired teacher, retired professor. It's people with pensions. See, study after study after study has shown people with pensions are much happier in retirement than people who don't have pensions. Do you understand? Happiness in retirement is tied almost 100% to guaranteed lifetime income. Not assets. Think about it. Who are your most visible clients? They're loaded. They got assets out the wazoo, but they're losing money in oil. They're losing money in gas. They're losing money in Bitcoin. These people are miserable. Assets make people miserable in retirement. What makes people happy is guaranteed lifetime income. Look, if you still don't believe me, look what Time Magazine found in Great Britain. Lifetime income stream key to retirement happiness. A new study in the land of growth reveals that retirees with a guaranteed lifetime income stream can find true happiness. They finish by saying securing at least a base level of lifetime income should be every retiree's priority, at least if they want to live happily ever after. And if you still don't believe me, I want you to Google Towers Watson. They're not even in the insurance industry. Google Towers Watson and Annuities and Retirement Happiness. They wrote a whole white paper. You can download it for free. They studied all retirees, old retirees, young retirees, rich retirees, poor retirees. You know, they found all retirees were happier if they had guaranteed lifetime income. Does that make sense? That if you were guaranteed you'd never run out of money, it might be a little happier than your next door neighbor who's worried about interest rates or oil price or stock prices. Hey, let me tell you a little story about my own family. So I grew up in a small town of Minnesota, 2,500 people. Both my parents were teachers. If you know anything about teachers in small towns, they don't make much money. I grew up in a lower middle class family. We had all the necessities. We did not have luxuries. I had jobs. I had a paper route. I mowed lawns, and I shoveled snow. If I wanted a new baseball glove, guess what? I bought it. If I wanted a new bicycle, guess what? I bought it. If I wanted to go to a Twins game or Vikings game or North Stars game or Harlem Globetrotters game, you know what I had to do? I had to sell more subscriptions to Minneapolis Star and Tribune is what I had to do. And I did. I earned all those trips. My parents didn't have much money, but my parents had pensions. My wife's parents are business owners. They made a lot more money than my parents ever did, but they had no pensions. So fast forward 50 years. My parents in their 80s, her parents in their 90s. Do you know not one single day of my life, not once have my parents expressed a concern about running out of money. They don't think about it. They got checks coming in every single month. They never worry about running out of money. Do you know every conversation my wife's parents running out of money? Well, they ran out of money. Do you know why? Because they planned to live to life expectancy, which at the time was age 76. She's 92. He died last year at age 95. What is the difference between those two halves of my own family? One half had guaranteed paychecks for life and the other one did not. I cannot stress enough to every single person on this call that you secure guaranteed lifetime income and you recommended it to every one of your clients. Number one, for the ultimate success of their retirement. Number two, if they want to be happy in retirement. And number three, I'll give you a bonus if you want to live longer. Look, some of you follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn, and if you don't, you sure can. I post a lot of neat stuff on retirement. But I recently posted a Freakonomics study. This is actually a University of Chicago study. Freakonomics picked up on it, pushed it out through social media. It was a University of Chicago study that studied people who bought lifetime income annuities versus people who didn't. You know what they found? The group that bought the income annuities lived longer than the group that didn't. You know, when I was at New York Life, I asked the actuaries, I said, hey, tell me what our actual life experience is on our annuity book of business versus our life book of business. You know, they found the life experience, the annuity book of business lived quite a bit longer than the life book of business. But this should be nothing new. Look, many of you had to read a book in high school or college. It was called Sense and Sensibility. It was written by Jane Austen in 1811. Does anybody remember what Jane Austen wrote about annuities back in 1811 in the book Sense and Sensibility? Let me refresh your memory from chapter 2. If you observe, people always live forever when there's an annuity to be paid to them. The annuity is a very serious business. It comes over and over every year, and there is no getting rid of it. She wrote that in 1811. Step number 6, you must have a plan for long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. In my book, Paychecks and Playchecks, the title of the chapter on long-term care is called What's Your Plan? What's Your Plan? Because if you've ever heard me speak before, you know I brag about my plan. What's my plan? I never have to go to a nursing home ever. I get to stay in my house till the day I die. The nurse has come to me. You know why? Because I got a plan. I've got long-term care insurance with home health care. I get to stay in my house. So when people say, I don't want that nursing home insurance, your answer will be exactly, this is anti-nursing home insurance. This is stay-at-home insurance. This is stay-in-control insurance. When they say, yeah, but that long-term care insurance is just too expensive, here's the words I would use. If you think long-term care insurance is expensive, you ought to try not having it. That'll wipe you out. Look, I made my parents buy long-term care insurance 16 years ago. They didn't want to. It's too expensive. We'll never need it. It's an insurance company rip-off. My dad said all those words to me. I made them buy it. They are now both in assisted living, $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month. Do you understand there were years my dad never made $10,000 a year? $10,000 a month. I can't imagine their retirement if they didn't have those policies. Well, then some people say, well, Tom, my wife will take care of me. I say, really? Okay, sir, I need you to lay down right over here. Now, ma'am, I need you to come over here, just pick him up and carry him downstairs and put him in the car for me. Would you do that? I can't do that. Well, if you can't do that when you're 67, how the heck are you going to do that when you're 87? That's long-term care. Oh, I love this one. Well, Tom, my long-term care plan's hanging the rack of that pickup truck right there. Yeah, they got a gun rack, and they're going to kill themselves. Let me tell you what. The nursing homes are literally overflowing with all these people who said they were going to kill themselves. You know why? Because they all forget. Look, watching my own parents age has changed my outlook on retirement. I'm now going to show you exactly how I'm retiring and why. See, some of you think retirement's going to be 30 or 40 years of golf, tennis, cruises, and line dancing. That's not true. You're going to go through 3 distinct phases. Let me show you what your retirement's really going to look like. The first phase of your retirement is what I call the go-go years. Now, the go-go years, you're playing golf, you're playing tennis, you're going on cruises, you're line dancing every day at happy hour somewhere. That's the go-go years. But make no mistake about it, the go-go years are going to be followed by the slow-go years. Now, the slow-go years, you can still do everything in the go-go. You just don't want to anymore. In fact, you don't want to go downtown after 4:30 because Dad can't see when it's dark out. That's the slow-go years. And the slow-go years are going to be followed by the no-go years. And the no-go years are those years when you're probably not leaving the building till you're leaving the building, if you know what I'm talking about. So we got go-go, slow-go, no-go. This is what I have learned watching my parents go through these phases. I have learned that the go-go years is all about income. Not assets, income. And 100% of my purchases are going for income in my go-go years. Now, I define my go-go years as age 60 to 80. You pick your own, but watching my parents age 60 to 80, I'm literally buying as much income as I can buy. Now, this income goes for the rest of my life. But I'll be honest, I am not taking inflation protection on all of it. Of course, some of it, but not all of it. And here's why. I don't necessarily want to have a bunch of income when I'm 117. I want to have a bunch of income between 60 and 80 when I can do something with it. The go-go years is all about income, not asset. The slow-go years, that's all about long-term care. And here's what I say about long-term care. Any plan is better than no plan. So if you're not going to buy or sell long-term care insurance, then by golly, you better buy and sell life insurance with a long-term care rider or annuities with a long-term care rider, okay? Because if they can't qualify for life insurance or long-term care insurance, they can qualify for an annuity that springs up with a bunch of income in their 70s and 80s. Any plan is better than no plan. And the no-go years, that's all about life insurance. Now, I've had people say, Tom, life insurance has nothing to do with retirement. No. Life insurance has everything to do with retirement. Do you understand? It's a life insurance you bring into retirement that gives you the license to spend your money. Do you want to know why so many of your clients are not enjoying their retirements? Because in the back of their mind, they think they got to leave their kids some money. Oh, I got to leave some money, Johnny and Susie. I got to leave some money, Johnny and Susie. So they're denying themselves a retirement to leave money to their kids. What do I say about that? Don't do that. I don't want you to leave any money to your kids. I want you to spend every last nickel you got. I want you to leave them life insurance. Let me use me as an example. So we got 4 kids. So one day we're sitting around saying, hey, how much do we leave the kids? I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, naming the 4 kids the beneficiary, when we're both gone, they get $1 million tax-free. That's $250,000. Let's start there. So we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, named the kids as 4 beneficiaries. That policy is completely paid up. Do you know what the total cost of that $1 million policy was? $150,000. So now think about this. For 15 cents on the dollar, we get to transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. Who gets to spend all the rest of the money? We do. I want you to spend your money. I want you to leave them life insurance. Step number 7, use your home equity wisely. For many of your clients, their house is one of the largest assets that they have. There's basically 3 ways to do it. Number 1, they can sell the home and downsize and move to Arizona. That's where I live. Here's what I want you to know. When you sell that house, if you're single, you can capture up to $250,000 tax-free in capital gains. If you're married, you can capture up to $500,000 tax-free, and that can certainly help a retirement. You can take a loan against the equity, or you can do a reverse mortgage. Now, let me tell you where it comes down on reverse mortgages, both in the TV show and in the book. Here's what I say. I am not for reverse mortgages, but I'm not against reverse mortgages. They are a tool that can be used in retirement. But here's my best professional advice. Number 1, be very, very careful. And number 2, work with a reverse mortgage expert. But having said that, what I will tell you is over the past few years, there have been tremendous changes to that reverse mortgage market, and you're going to read many more positive articles by very respected sources like the American College, Dr. Wade Pfau, Don Grave, Jamie Hopkins of Forbes magazine. I'll just give you one example. Does everyone now know that once you turn age 62, you can buy a house up to $600,000 and some for half price? So you can buy a $600,000 house for $300,000 or a $400,000 house for $200,000. You own the house. You and your spouse can live there for the rest of your lives. no payments need to be made for the rest of your lives. You're the owner, so you have to pay property tax. You're the owner. You have to carry homeowners insurance. And when you die, that house is probably not going to your kids. It's probably going back to the bank. But my point is, what could you have done with the other $200,000 or $300,000? So there's no doubt in my mind that many boomers are going to use their home equity. Just be very careful and work with an expert, okay? Now, when I'm doing seminars, I say I was going to talk to you a little bit more about your kids, but the more of these presentations I give, I find so many people don't even like their kids anymore, so I go straight to the grandchildren because I know you still love them. And I'm going to tell you, don't leave any money to your grandchildren either, and here's why. We met with Annie. She said, Tom, I got $100,000 down at the bank. It's not earning much. I don't care. I don't need this money. This is my just-in-case money. I named my 6 grandchildren as beneficiary, and when I die, they're each going to get a little over $16,000. Well, that's a nice grandma. But if it's her just-in-case money, why does she leave it in the bank? Why did she put it in a life insurance policy? She can get the money out. In fact, there's many senior policies now that have full money back guarantee, so she can get the money out if she needs it. But when she dies, each grandchild gets $36,000 instead of $16,000. Don't leave your grandchildren money. Leave them life insurance because you can leave them more. What about charitable giving? A lot of generous people out there. I'll introduce you to 2 of them. Here's Al and Helen. They're very generous. They tithe to their church. They give to their university. They saved up $50,000 they want to give to charity, but when they started talking about it, they each want to give $50,000. Well, how do you give $100,000 if all you saved up was $50,000? You put the $50,000 in a life insurance policy, it immediately creates $100,000 of gifting power. You want to leave more money to charities? Don't leave them money. Leave them life insurance. What about protecting Social Security benefits? The husband gets $2,000 a month, the wife gets $1,000 a month. What happens when he dies? Well, she gets his. What happens to hers? It's gone. So her income goes down. What happens to her taxes? They were filing joint. Now she has to file single. Her taxes go up. Her income goes down. What could have protected her from this? Life insurance. Look, that's what's in the book. Every one of those steps has its own chapter. There's a chapter in there, tips for women, because women face men don't. There's a chapter in there, tips for non-traditional couples, because non-traditional couples face risks that traditional couples don't face. There's a chapter in there, tips for late savers, an entire chapter on longevity credits, and an entire chapter on the importance of life insurance in retirement. All right? Now, I'm going to wrap this up. I told you I'll give you something special if you hung on to the end. So here's the deal. I think it's so important to focus on 3 things. Number 1, training. Number 2, coaching. And number 3, client education. You know, I was on LinkedIn the other day and it said, pros have coaches, amateurs don't. Think about that. Pros have coaches, amateurs don't. Think about the Super Bowl that just happened. We had the Patriots and the Eagles. You know, how often do you think they train? They train every day. They don't train once a quarter, once every 6 months. Why do we think in this business we shouldn't be training every day? So I put together a whole online training system, all right? That's got literally my brain, over 10 hours of my brain online, sorted by life insurance, annuities, long-term care, sales ideas, combination sales ideas. What if you spent 10 minutes a day with me for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? How much better do you think you would be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? I think you could get a lot better. What if I could coach you? I've got a coaching site. So you get to an appointment 10 minutes early, you get on your iPhone, you go to Client Coach, a video of me pops up and they tell me about this appointment. Is your client single or married? You click single. How old is this person? 72. Once you hit those 2 buttons, a video of me pops up. Okay, so you're going on an appointment with a 70-year-old widow. Here's going to be her key concerns. Here's going to be the products you're going to want to use. Here's going to be your objections. Here's how I would handle those objections. And I coach you for 5 to 8 minutes before you go on the appointment. The next day you go on an appointment with a married couple in their 40s, you get married 45, a video of me pops up and I coach you very differently for the married couple than I did for the widow. And then the last thing is client education. Who's educating your clients? Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, Ken Fisher? That's who they always bring up to you. Why don't you bring me up to them? Why don't you can run an unlimited number of your clients and prospects through my online training. It's called Retire Happy You. It's something I set up in conjunction with the TV special. And you can rotate as many clients as you want. Now, to get the training, coaching, and client education, all of that is $97 a month. But because you were on this call and I said I'm going to do something special, here's the special deal I'm going to get. You can get all 3 of my books, all 3 of my audiobooks, the DVD, the Social Security Guide, which would be over $300 normally. You can get that for $150. But I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to pay for the first month of that online training. And you can cancel whenever you want. There's no obligation. You can cancel whenever you want. So that's over $400 value that you can get for $150 by texting the word happy to 773-770-4377. If you're not a texting kind of person, you can call us at 855-TOM-HEGNA. But let me say one thing about audiobooks, why I'm such a big believer. When I was a brand new agent, I was recruited by MetLife. I was a company commander out of Fort Ord, California in the U.S. Army. I was recruited by MetLife, and I said, okay, I'm going to go work for Met, but I didn't want to stay in California. I moved to Arizona. I didn't know one single person. I'd never sold any insurance in my entire life. Guess what? I made MDRT my first year. I led my office of production every single year. Now, how do you do that if you don't know nothing about nothing about nothing? It's because every day I listened to audiobooks while I was driving around Phoenix. I watched VHS tapes of the top producers in this industry. I learned their words, their language, their stories. That then became my words, my language, my stories, and they fast-tracked me to the top. And what I'm telling you is I can do the same for you. I can fast-track you to the top with the words, the language, questions, and stories. You're not going to get all that from a one-hour webinar. Why does the Army have me take apart and put together my weapon 4,000 times? I think I figured it out after 6 or 8 times. But after 4,000 times, you know it down here. After 6 or 8 times, you only know it up here. You've got to use repetition to use this. So let me wrap up this seminar this way. I can't tell you if the market's going to go up or if the market's going to go down. I don't know. Are we going to have inflation or are we going to have deflation? I don't know. But I do know this. If you have a plan, if you work a little longer, save a little more. If you cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income, if you optimize the rest of your portfolio to protect yourself against inflation, if you maximize your Social Security benefits, have a plan for long-term care, use your home equity wisely, and use life insurance as the most efficient way to pass wealth to your children, grandchildren, and charities, I do know this. Each and every one of you and your clients can have a happy and successful retirement that's based in math and science, not based on some stockbroker's opinion. And with that, Brendan, maybe we can take some questions.
Well, thank you, Tom. So much excellent information as always, and including the fact that if you have long-term care insurance, there's no need to kill yourself, right? You don't even have to remember. But we do have some questions already, and I'd like to remind our attendees that if you'd like to ask a question, you can type your question in the question box on the right side of your screen. The first question we have is, will your coaching program help handle the Ken Fisher objections?
Yes, and I wrote something you can Google right now. Why Ken Fisher really loves annuities. Okay, he's getting rich off annuities. I wrote that was one of my most powerful newsletters. And by the way, my newsletter is free. You can sign up at tomhegna.com. But my most popular one was Why Ken Fisher really loves annuities, and you should too. So what I would do is I would Google that article and maybe print that out and keep that with you. But I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. See, the dirty secret about Ken Fisher is that he's got high fees too. And so when he was looking, he couldn't pick on Fidelity, he couldn't pick on Vanguard. They got lower fees than him. So he had to look around, what's got high fees? Well, a lot of things have high fees. Real estate has high fees, options, futures, oil, gold, any commodities, they have high fees. But what can you say, sign here, and transfer that money to him? Annuities. So he went after variable annuities, but he didn't just stop there. He just says annuities. He doesn't just say variable. He says all annuities. And so, and the stuff he says is untrue. When he says anything you can do with an annuity, there's a better way to do it. That's a lie. He can't say that. He should not be allowed to say that because none of his products can take longevity risk off the table. So anyway, he loves annuities right now because he's getting rich. But I say he will hate annuities, and he will hate annuities when the market crashes because evidently he doesn't know markets do crash. I do know that. And when he took people out of products that had guarantees, and he charges them high fees without guarantees, yeah, he's going to hate them eventually because it's all going to come back on him. But I did write that article, that newsletter. That might help you.
And from Mark, how long to get half as good as Tom? Thank you, Mark, for that. And let's see, we have a question from Mike. When a client is uninsurable, how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, look, that's why we want to get to people before they become uninsurable. But you know what? There are some companies that offer guaranteed issue life insurance policies. All right, they don't pay much of a death benefit for 2 years, but if the person lives 2 years, you can buy policies out there for $10,000, $25,000. They're smaller policies, but there are companies that will sell guaranteed issue coverage. Number two, you can take an uninsured person and lots of times put them on a second to die policy, and a company will issue a second to die policy even when one is uninsurable, okay? And the other thing is sometimes you've got to use other leverage products like annuities. You can buy an annuity if you're uninsurable, and you can get some amount of leverage. So those are the things that I would say. And those annuities with long-term care benefits, many of them do not underwrite. So even a very unhealthy person can put their money into one of those annuities and have some type of long-term care benefit. All right. So those would be the things that I would recommend.
Now, Tom, earlier in your presentation, you were talking about going to see the North Stars, and you had mentioned the name of an article from July 30, 2012. Vaughn would like the name of it again, please. Vaughn thinks this article was from England. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it's Time Magazine. The title is Lifetime Income Stream, Key to Retirement Happiness. Lifetime Income Stream, Key to Retirement Happiness, Time Magazine. If you Google that, it'll pop up. And if you can't find it, you can always send an email to info@tomhegna.com, info@tomhegna.com, and we'd be able to follow up with any of those.
Outstanding. And the next question, what is it about reverse mortgages that makes them unappealing? Is there anything that makes them unappealing?
Well, I think for years there were some things about them. You know, just like some of the first versions of indexed annuities that had 20-year surrender charges weren't necessarily, you know, the best for some clients. So indexed annuities have gotten much better over the years, and I think reverse mortgages have gotten much better over the years. And the problem with reverse mortgages is not that if you and your spouse live there for the rest of your lives, you can live happily ever after. But the problem is that doesn't always happen. Some people get sick, some people die, and let's say, you know, the husband gets sick, he dies, now the wife wants to move back near her daughters, and now she's got this reverse mortgage. It can get really sticky, and it can get kind of messy. And so that's why I say you've really got to understand them. You've got to work with an expert and go through all the cases, you know, so that you know what your options are. You know, do you have any options to move in 10 years or 15 years? Are you pretty much stuck there? And you got to know that up front. So that's where working with a reverse mortgage expert, reading up, you know, maybe Don Graves' book or Wade Pfau's book on reverse mortgages could really help you. You know, you got to learn from key experts in these areas. I learn from these guys all the time.
And will the coaching help with the real estate guys that only believe in rental income for retirement?
Well, you got to understand, my system supports using real estate, but not to cover basic living expenses. You cannot find a PhD in this world that says, oh, buy rental property to cover every penny of your expenses. You won't find that. It's fine as an inflation protection hedge. It's fine for paychecks, but I haven't been able to find any PhDs that say use them for paychecks. And look, I live in Arizona. You want to know what happened here when the real estate market crashed? Every realtor I knew and every builder I knew went bankrupt. You know why? Because they had everything in real estate. Everything they owned was in real estate. Everything. Well, you shouldn't have all your money anywhere, okay? You shouldn't have all your money in life insurance. You shouldn't have all your money in annuities. You should not have all your money in real estate. You should not all have all your money in stocks. You've got to be diversified. And so I would tell that person, you should not have all your money in any one thing ever, and you won't find any PhDs that would support them doing that. So that I use the PhDs as my references, not Ken Fisher, not Dave Ramsey, not Susie Orman.
And we have time for a few more questions. What is your opinion and recommendation for a 50-year-old advisor with corporate experience and no clients? And to prospect if he or she is starting fresh with no clients. This is an older advisor with no clients.
So, you know, there are some companies out there that specialize in helping you get in front of people. There's companies that specialize in seminar selling. I believe seminar selling still works. I think it's a great way for somebody who's 50-ish, because you look like you've been in the business for 100 years and you look very experienced. Nobody else knows you're brand new. And you can, if you know this stuff, and you can get up there. And by the way, when you get this package, one of the other things you're going to get is an offer to get my slides for a huge discount as well. And I think slides are so important. You saw how I use the slides to very simply communicate these things. And when I get done with my presentation, people say, man, this makes so much sense. Why doesn't my advisor know this? Why haven't I been told this? And so I would encourage you to take advantage of the training, the coaching, the slides. I've done the work, you know, now. And then as far as finding new people, there's there's a lot of, and NAIFA does seminars on how to fill your appointment calendars. You know, whether you use social media, build your funnels very big, then you can market to these funnels. There's email marketing. There's still phone calls. There's still direct mail. There's companies like Army 360 that'll fill a room for you for seminars. So I mean, there are people who specialize in helping you get in front of more people. All right. I'm kind of the guy who shows you what to say once you're in front of those people.
Well, thank you for that, Tom. And in fact, yes, if you go to www.naifa.org and check under practice resources on the homepage, you will find a number of benefit programs that will help you with prospecting and other business development. Please quickly explain the difference of just buying your course alone versus the whole package and what forms the books come in.
Well, I mean, what we're trying to do is give you just an incredible deal. Certainly, you can just sign up for the online trading and coaching. You can do that. That's $97 a month. But I think it's good that you have some resources. And all three books, you get all three books in hardcover form, number one. Then you get all three books in audio form, and each of the audiobooks also comes with an MP3 disc so that you can load it all into your mobile devices, so that when you're driving, you can turn your drive time into learning time, your traffic time into learning time, your workout time into learning time. You got the DVD of the presentation, me in front of people, that if you've been watching my posts, a lot of people put those in a bucket of popcorn with 2 Cokes and candy to make movie night. Let me make the presentation to clients and prospects. And the people come in and buy. A New York Life agent just posted on his thing a couple of weeks ago that he wrote the second biggest life insurance policy of his career by doing movie night. And the people were coming in quoting me off the DVD. And then he gets referrals. Who else should watch this? He gets 2 or 3 referrals. He gets the DVD back, and he makes buckets of popcorn for the referrals. So, I mean, we keep people who buy these DVDs by the case, and they just let me do all the presentations, you know? I mean, that's something that even, your staff or team members could be, encouraging people to watch this stuff. But it's really your call. That online trading and coaching, just so you know, there's over 100 objections on there that I handle. 100. There's over 100. So, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my neighbor says this, whatever. I show you how I handle those objections. And a lot of it is just experience. And if you don't have the experience and the time, I do have the time and the experience, and you can save 30 years of your life by watching the stuff I've learned over 30 years.
We have so many excellent questions, and we're going to be able to get to about 3 more. Thank you so much, Tom, for staying with us overtime today. And for those of you that need to leave, this webinar is being recorded. You will be emailed a link to that recorded webinar. You don't talk about leaving clients some in managed accounts in the market. How do you get around the annuity suitability requirements? We have clients who can't afford to lose anything.
Well, I mean, step 4, the inflation protection supports managed money. So if you're a managed money person, this system fits with you, because step 4, you can actually invest more aggressively if you have your basic living expenses covered with guaranteed income. For people who can't afford to lose anything, then it's really, up to your compliance departments. Most compliance departments will not let you put 100% of a person's money into an annuity, because they want to have some money liquid in case of emergencies. And so really that's a company-specific question based on compliance. But my system does support real estate. It does support managed money, but not to cover basic living expenses, to build a portfolio for growth and inflation protection. So I hope that helps.
And what is your advice to the question that someone asks you? It sounds like an objection. I don't want to put my money in a whole life policy. The insurance company may go out of business and I will lose my money.
Well, name one where that's happened. I can't name one where that's happened, but that's why you want to stick to strong companies. I say in my book, all insurance companies are not created equal. You want to stick to strong, highly rated carriers that have been around for 100 or 200 years. I mean, I just don't think you're going to run into a problem. And then they'll throw out the word AIG. Well, AIG was a holding company. The life insurance company was American General. That was fine. There's no problem with American General. So, I mean, I think that's a false objection. It just makes the person Sound good? But that's not the real objection. I would dig deeper. I'd say, may I ask why? Do you know anybody who's ever lost money in a whole life policy? There's something else there. That's not the objection. So I would just say that's a false objection, and I would just keep going with my presentation.
And the last question that we have time for today, please explain Tom Hegna on Demand.
So Tom Hegna on Demand is literally my brain. There's 3 sections to it. It's training. So I've got over 10 hours of advisor training. So this is for advisors that I can train you on life insurance, annuities, long-term care, Social Security, everything I've done today and more. You got 1 hour of me today. There's 10 hours of me online. Okay, that's the training side. Then there's the coaching side where I coach you before the appointment. You put in single or married, you put in their age, and based on those variables, I'm going to coach you before you go on that appointment. And the third thing is client education. And so there's about 2.5 hours of client education. It's a more in-depth training than just my 1 hour, don't worry, retire happy. I go a little deeper into each of the steps and coach them on how to find a good advisor and what type of long-term care options are available and, life insurance, what's term and what's, whole life and what's universal life. I get a little into those things that I don't do in my seminar. So that's what it's all about. It's having me 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for whatever you need me for, literally. I mean, I put everything that I would think an agent would need to be successful. It's online and it's available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Great. Well, that's about all the time that we have today. Tom, we'd love to have you back sometime in the future. So we'll talk. All right.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to all those who participated in today's program. This concludes the NAIFA webinar.